Hey, hello and welcome to Plugin Along, a stream dedicated to LOTRO plugins. My windows are doing weird things here. Last time on Plugin Along, we got started on our bonus token item Reminder plugin. We started by moving test code out of the subscriber bus Reminder plugin, and then we started to modify it. And today we're going to start, because it is a Harvest Mass Fall Festival, we're going to start with a run through the Haunted Burrow and through the Wistmead Maze using Festival Buddy 2. And then we'll go back to the plugin development. So we're going to make a new repository for our new plugin and get back to modifying the remaining subscriber bus services code to suit our purposes, or if it's no longer needed, to delete it. So as always, feel free to jump into chat with your thoughts and questions. In the meantime, let's go ahead. And I've already loaded up, but here's Festival Buddy 2. I'm going to go ahead and reload it just so we can see. Click on the little options gears and come on in. And just so it's easier to see on the stream here, we're going to embiggen it a little bit. So that might be... Here, I'll move my chat window over there. It could be a little bigger. There we go. Okay. So I do not normally play with it this big, but your eyesight may find it useful to have it bigger or smaller, and it does give you that option. Unfortunately, that's just a thing that every plugin developer needs to implement themselves, so most plugins don't remember to do that right off of the bat. Okay, now, did I just get my festival quest? 0 out of 10. I did. Awesome. So, Festival Buddy hasn't detected any of the quests that it cares about yet, so it hasn't switched over to be Harvest Math. But as soon as we do, it will go ahead and auto-detect that. So one thing I'd like to do just to refresh my brain, what are we doing here? Come on over to Poppy Cotton and do, unfortunately they're in reverse alphabetical order, but I'll start with a stroll through the Haunted Burrow. Endless amounts of time. 20 minutes is more than enough to complete all 10 of these quests, but why not? And this is why I made it bigger, is just in case you're not really familiar with the Haunted Burrow, this map will give you a guidance. Tellurian asked, did I get the wrapper? I did get the wrapper. Thank you very much, Tellurian. I have participated in 0 out of 10 today. Awesome. So we come in at the bottom center of this map, and it's meant to be slightly color-coded, but the eye can only do so much with this kind of information. So I have blown it up as big as this will get. Pamela says, this plugin looks really good. Awesome. I'm glad to hear it. So what this is trying to say is that we start at the bottom center, and so we have a path of green, and that's going to take us over to this door. Path of green continues to objective number 1, which is get the proof in the attic. Our path turns to blue. We leave the attic. We come on over here. That takes us somewhere where, well, this is blue, so it takes us to here. Up and over to objective 2, and then our path turns to orange, and we leave. The only other orange is over to here, so we must come out in the creeping wing to objective number 3. Then we do path pink-ish, maybe magenta. Come on down through here, objective number 4, and out through the second of these 2 doors. Otherwise, you won't be happy with the result, in that it will send you back to the start of the basement. And then we can see finally that sort of light orangey color leads us right back out. So that's just what we're going to do. And that's why I picked up the stroll through, because talking about this for a few minutes will eat up some of that time. Now, I really like coming in here with a hunter or Bjorning or someone who has some really good movement modifiers, but that's okay. So there are 2 possible negative effects that can hit you in the attic. The first is this little darkness patch here, and the second is just a invisible boundary, but if you cross it, you will get attacked by bats and stunned for a few moments. Now I'm going to show the bat one, and that will tell us why we want to avoid it. So, coming on over here, get the attic trophy. Great, I don't have any negative effects on me, and oh no, bats, I can't move. So we never want that to happen again, but if you've had something like that happen, you get an invisible kind of a cooldown that says you can't be affected by a trap like that for a couple of seconds. So if you can trigger an innocuous one like the shadows in place of the annoying one like the bats, then that's all the better. So we can, as Little Redhead pointed out, reach through this wall and get the Cobweb Wing trophy and head on out. Great, so now we're here in the Creeping Wing. This one's great. The trophy is right next to the door. And we're in the basement. I haven't visited the basement today, so I'm going to go ahead and get my poorly hidden chest. Nope, someone else just got it. That's okay. I can wait. Oh, but that reminds me. I should have my Fateful Toolkit on. If only there were a plugin that would remind me about this. It's coming. Okay, so we come on out of the basement. Oops. Using this map if we need to. Second exit. And then straight on out. Now the downside of that being over on that side is that it does cover up the objectives that the quest will tell. So I'll go ahead and move it over here and we'll see how that works. We'll see the map, but we won't see the objectives of Festival Buddy trying to tell you what to do. Okay. I didn't actually get the proof in the basement. Oh my goodness. How could I? Alright, well we're going to shortcut our way. I was so busy going through the basement, I didn't actually stop to get the proof of the basement. Okay. Great, we have the proof. Well, that's why we don't cover up our quest objectives, if we can help it. So, out, we're going to talk to Poppy, and then we're going to do it quickly this time, and correctly if we can. So, hello Poppy, we did it. Here's your proofs. I will gladly go and get the identical proofs. Bye. Okay, so, same thing. Why do I feel like I'm moving slowly? Because I'm not a hunter, I'm not with a hunter, and I'm not a Bjorning. Oh well. Okay, so, just clip that shadow thing, and we'll get that internal cooldown that says we can't be affected by the bats, or any other trap nearby. And come on into the next wing. Obviously, there's lots of other people doing this at the same time. Oh no, I took just too long getting in here, so I did get tripped by the spider. But if you time it right, and sometimes I will get the trophy first and then go hit the shadow, just so it lasts just long enough that I can bypass the spider in the cobwebbed wing. Alright, now we're in the basement. Great, let's go actually collect proof that we were here. Now, you do get a hefty amount of time, 4 or 5 minutes for this quest. I think once you're familiar with the general layout of the house, that's, well, the burrow, that's more than enough time. Okay. Now, I like to then break that apart and do the 3 separate ones. So I come on over to Mr. Chicken. And we'll do 3 of the wings. Now the attic one's the easiest because when you come out of the attic, you're back in the haunted burrow proper. So you can just run out if you remember, or go into cobweb wings if you forget, and then you're very sad because that is quite the run. Oh, someone's already doing it. Okay, I'm going to click on the Hobbit so I can see when they despawn. And they're gone. Great. Now the Haunted Burrow does only let you do more or less 1 quest at a time. I can't think of any 2 that you can do. So I can't combine this with something else. So just leave, go get the next thing to do. Okay. So the next one involves the cobwebbed wing. So we're going to pick up our normal route as if we had just left the attic and coming down to the cobwebbed wing. As Little Red had pointed out, this has the longest run to get back to the main entrance. So this is a great opportunity to use your Exit the Haunted Burrow. If you're a hunter, maybe you already have a campsite fire that you can travel back to the hill with, and then you have that shortcut. But for anyone else, if you're going to use it 1 time during these 10 quests, this is probably the one I would tend to use it on. Okay, so we're out. So we'll get the last one that is in the Creeping Wing, which we do have a shortcut on the ground level here, the Haunted Burrow. Second door on the right. And we are here. So we're going to go around to the right, get that candle lit, and deal with the menace. Now from here, we're going to end up in the basement, and it's not so long of a trip. So that's why we tend to use it out of the Cobwebbed Wing instead of the Creeping Wing, because from here, quick trip to the basement, and we're back into the main cellar area. Okay. Return to the chicken. I know it's not really Pollo, but... Okay, done. Now, there's no real order that you have to do these things in, but I do like having a sort of a conceptual idea. So, we have one more that will do the main tour of them. No, I'm sorry, I'm thinking Holfast. So let's do Holfast for the tour, then we'll do the 2 trips through to see the hobbits, and then we'll do the irregulars. Okay, so first thing that we're looking for is right outside the attic here, jar on the right. And we can see that in the guided map here. Number 1's there, then we go into the attic. In the attic, we're going to come over here to the bone pile. I am skirting around that shadow because I want to pick it up as late as possible. Okay, so tag the shadow and out. So I do have that negative effect on me and can no longer be affected by other things for a short period of time. I should really figure out how long that is, but I want to say it's probably around 10 seconds. Okay. Oops, I ran past the cobweb. The cocoon, sorry. There's that spider. I feel like I've been in here on a brawler or a mariner, and the spider never seems to stop me. And I don't know if it's just, I'm mistaking how things work, or if those classes are just kind of immune to spiders, or what. But I would like to know more. Okay, so we're heading on out. And in the basement, the disgusting puddle is at the other end from the trophy, and it's right here. Alright. Oh. I got hit by the fainting effect. Okay. Well, we are done. We're going to return the missing valuables. Then we're going to do the hobbits, both reassuring them and scaring them. Can do them in either order, really, depending on how you feel about hobbits. Oh, Telerian, thank you. Mariners have an immunity against roots while in neutral. That is good to know, and that's probably what I'm seeing. Okay, so we're going to start by scaring the hobbits, and then we'll work with May Gamgee to go reassure the hobbits, because, we like hobbits. So, we're going to do a game of Hobbit Herring. Now, you do have to be a member of the Ale Association for this quest. I highly recommend it. It just gives you 2 free quests to do here at the Haunted Burrow, and it doesn't take very long to go ahead and do those initiation quests. Maybe 10-15 minutes for the both of them, for In-League and Ale Association. So, highly recommended. You don't have to, but then if you don't, you're stuck with only 8 quests there, and you do want to then find 2 more to make up your daily, if you're not going to go into Wistmead. If you are, then, you've got that sorted. Sanfutu says, Tilian says, also nice for worms in the Dark Delving. Oh, that sounds so nice. Sanfutu says, really good through the wall tips today. I never see anyone pick things through walls, except the bookcase in the stroll/roll through quest. Well, fair enough, yeah. Creeping Wing doesn't have any hobbits, so we're just going to bypass it. Now, in the basement, you can get this bucket of tricks through the wall, so you don't even have to duck into there. You can just come along. Pretty sure you can. We're going to try it out. Do the bucket of tricks here on your way out. Don't even bother trying to duck in there. There's just a lot of ceiling hangings that obstruct my field of vision, so if I can avoid it, that's nice. Unfortunately, for this wall, the Hobbit is reachable through the wall, but the bucket of tricks is just out of reach, so you do have to come on in here. Oops. Too busy avoiding the floor thing and not getting my bucket of tricks. So the last bucket coming on through here, you can, of course, grab it through the wall. So don't even bother going down the side tunnel ever. And then come on out. Okay. May will be right back. And then we'll demonstrate the hobbits that can be poked. Well, talked to. Okay. So this is definitely benefited if you know that you have a target NPC button. Let's see. So I'm going to come on in here to the options, and we're going to come look at the key mapping, and we're going to search for NPC. So I forget which of these are default key combinations, but probably F10, select nearest NPC is, and maybe next and previous are not. So whatever key you have, and it's probably F10 to start, this is very useful for this next part. Kuba says, do you know if it's possible to get the Mariner balance number in LOTRO, similar to how you can get the champion fervor with the get fervor function? Off the top of my head, I don't, and I think I saw your question over on the official Discord server, or someone had an identical one, and I would say that that's a good place to ask, and I did some brief checking then too, and couldn't find anything that suggested that there was a way to do that. Doesn't mean there's not, I just don't do a lot of work with Mariners. Oh, I ducked past the shadow, and that was wrong because now I got hit with bats. Okay, so here's me hitting the F10 key instead of using my mouse to click them. Doesn't matter so much in here, but in places where you want to target them through a wall, it's very useful. So Kuba, I don't know of a way, and I know of that we could play around with that a little bit later, but I'll do this first. Okay, so what I want to do is talk to this one as soon as I can. Oh, can't do through the wall. Very sad. They're standing too far back. Okay, so last hobbit's in the basement. That one, it is possible to talk to them through the wall. I'm going to just scooch through the creeping wing first. Oh, is it not? Oh, it's possible, but you'd have to come back here, so I can see why you don't. It's probably just as easy to come on through here to get that hobbit. And they are too far away from this part of the path to easily... I mean, obviously you can target them, but I don't think you can bring up the dialogue. Nope, too far. Okay. This hobbit, though, is standing close enough, so we're going to go ahead and talk to them and leave. I've pre-clicked on them and told my hobbit to go talk to them, so my hobbit is stumbling through the dark on their own recognizance. And then again, never go down that side hall. Okay. Here you go, mate. Okay, we've done 8 so far. So there's 2 we haven't done, the wine, which we'll save for last, and the lost possessions. No, I'm sorry, the riddle. We already did the lost possessions. So middle, left, middle, if you need it. The colors change, I think, or is it always orange? I think blue sometimes gets in the middle, so you can memorize the colors, but I tend to either use a list in a plugin like this, or just go ahead and just middle, left, middle. All right, so we didn't go too far, so we didn't get spidered. We got our shield, so we're safe for the rest of this. Let's go. Okay, in here, this is the left. It's also orange. Ah, yeah, blue and white. Switch around. Okay, we got our shield. And the basement. Middle. Now the basement, your path reunites with the standard way, so you do use the same door to get out. I think that's a bit of a lost opportunity. I feel like they could have had another one, but ah well. Yeah, Koopa says the last updated documentation I found is from update 25. Does that mean the API wasn't updated since then? It means there was no official release of API documentation that we know of since then. The API does get updated. For instance, the Mariner is... There's a value that gets returned when you say, what class is this for the Mariner? So in that sense, the API was updated because otherwise we wouldn't have a value for what is the class, it's Mariner, or Corsair as it was in the very early documentation. However, there haven't been substantial changes in the API documentation, so it's entirely possible that they added a function to get the balance without anyone at LOTRO like pushing out an updated documentation for public consumption. I would say if there's any plugins that appear to give you that information, checking to see how they do it is great. If they don't, that's okay. We can take a look and poke at it for a moment as well before we get started on our main activity of the day. But let's go ahead and at least turn in our wrapper so we remember to do that. We should have the Fateful Toolkit, so instead of 5, we're going to get 6 of those. Awesome. And then on to Wistmead, where I'm just going to show off the map capability. Now, we're not looking at the embedded map here. I'm going to reduce the size of that a little bit because it is dominating my screen. Away, pony. Okay, so one of the things that makes this more complicated than the Spring Festival is that instead of one maze, there are 5 mazes, and they go sequentially 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then back to 1. It's not random or anything like that. However, Festival Buddy has no way of knowing which one you are doing. So when you first pick up a quest, I'm going to get something that doesn't have a timer on it, so I'm going to do Gathering Gourds. It's going to say, hey, I don't know what's up. So we're going to ask a couple of things. First, what is your offset? Now, you can either type it in if you know. Here in the Netherlands, we are generally 6 hours ahead, although we're going to change... I think the day that we're ending, we're changing time zones. So that would complicate it a little bit. And then the second question is, you need to give some identifying features. You need to scout out some identifying features in order to tell Festival Buddy which map we are looking at. So for all of these, when we come in, you are looking at a wall. So that's not distinctive. And I should highlight the things that are distinctive. So when we come on in over here, we see a wall up there and a wall on the right. And then it comes down. And, oh, there's 2 that could be. So let's look on over F, over on the left. So when we look over here, the wall, there's an opening, there's like a plus opening over here. So it could be the first one here. It cannot be the 4th one, which was our other contender. And it can't be the 5th one. So it has to be number 1. Awesome. So this is our map for today. Yeah, Tellurian says end of daylight saving time is next Sunday in Europe. Yes, it is the 3rd, I believe. No, the 2nd. And this festival extends to the morning of the 3rd. So it's going to be a couple hours there where there's some overlap. Okay, so let's demonstrate what we have by doing the challenge of wheat. I thought I did it. Oh, there we go. Okay. So do not cheat, but as soon as you go into the maze, the timer is going to start. So if you don't already have it, if you bind /LOC to a quick button, then it's a lot easier than typing /LOC while you're running, I find. And then the map will know about your position. So you can use /LOC repeatedly if you want to just get pretty real-time updates to where you are. Now, if you don't keep pressing it, then the arrow will fade out because your location is not known to plugins specifically, but plugins can see the output of the /LOC command. So if you don't press /LOC for a period of time, your position gets increasingly unreliable from where it was the last time you hit /LOC. So any plugin that's responding to /LOC, just know that it only knows where you are at the exact moment where you hit /LOC. Things like Waypoint, they will time out after the while to show you that, oh, I don't really know anymore. Festival Buddy will just slowly fade out the arrow instead, and to give you a sense of, oh, that gets increasingly unreliable. Now, if you're just comfortable mapping where you are onto the map, you don't need to do /LOC. That's just an extra optional thing. Kuba said, so how can I discover these hidden potential updates if there is no documentation for them? I'll show you. But the basic answer is boiling down to give it a try. And so For hunters, if there is a get focus function, the first thing to do is, if you're logged in with a Mariner, can you call get focus on your local player object? It'll probably say, oh, no such thing exists. Okay, is there a get balance? Is there, if we can go through any other names that could be in place for such a thing. Okay, if you pick up a cheat of the week, then Festival Buddy will show you the corresponding cheating map. This is the same underlying map, but a different path, because you have a 30 seconds, a minute? You have a lot less time to get through it, and so you need to do this path. If you do the regular non-cheaty path, you will run out of time. So Ghosty says, how do you put LSC on a key? I just went in, so let me go ahead and finish this one, and then I'll show you. I thought I could stop myself before I hit the portal, but I did not. But the short answer, Skagosi, is it is a shortcut. So you're going to use the /shortcut chat command, and then you're going to give it which shortcut or which quick slot location you want it to go into, and then you're going to say what you want to go there. And so we'll do an example of that here in just a moment. Okay, yeah, we got to the end here with like 2 seconds to spare because I was not doing it very efficiently. Okay, so this is my current /LOC. I'm just going to get rid of it. Oh no, I need to do a thing. So what we're going to do, and let me make sure that you can see what I'm typing here. So /shortcut. If you just type that, then you're going to get an output that shows you how to do it. Shortcut location, text string. The location, I feel like, is the only tricky thing. It's a number, and the numbers start at 1 for your first shortcut bar, and that goes up to 12. 13 is the first one on quick slot bar 2, and these correspond to the bar 1, bar 2, bar 3, bar 4, bar 5. So 1 through 12, 13 through 24, 25 through 36, 37 through 48, 49 through, I feel like I've gone off by one, through 60. And 61 would be the start of the last bar through 72, I guess. Hopefully I got all those numbers right, but with some testing you can play around with this. So right now I want to put something in the first spot of bar number 5. Awesome. So we're going to say /shortcut 61 /LOC. Awesome. So that took space 61. Oh, I'm sorry. The starting bar is bar 0, and then the first one is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have 6 bars. That's why mentally I was off by 1. So if you take your bar number, multiply by 12, and then add how many into it you are, you're going to get the right answer. So we're on bar number 5. Multiply by 12 is 60, and add 1 for each spot over we are. So we're on the first spot, so that's 61. Or if we want to be on this one here, do I have anything there? No. Okay. So this is bar 1. This is 0. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. 4 times 12, 48. So this is spot 49. So if I do /shortcut 49 /LOC, then we can see that went in there as well. Shortcuts to commands like this just tend to show up as the text, as the icon that goes there. And there are ways to make that, I'm about to say there are ways to make that pretty. I don't know that that's true. Plugins that use shortcuts and quick slots can do something about that. But if you're just putting a command into one of your quick slots, then this is what you get. And then I have that bound to tilting my mouse button to the right. So I don't actually have to click on this. Here, I'm going to accept that to get rid of it. I can instead, and you can see the output in the chat channel down here. If I tilt my wheel to the right, I do a /LSC because this is bound to button whatever that is. 5, I want to say. I actually do want this back. Key mapping. You can have a different key binding for every quick slot if you are ambitious. So here's bar 1, bar 2, bar 3 all have Control, Alt, and Shift plus the number to get at them. You can do chords if you want. Control Shift 1, 2, 3, 4. You could use to activate these 4 spots, for instance. I don't know that too many people do that kind of thing, but just bear in mind that you can do chorded input. So Control and Alt I find pretty easy because I can hit Control with the palm of my hand and Alt with my finger. Your mileage may vary based on the size of your hands and keyboard. But I find Control Shift harder to do. I can hit them with the palm of my hand, but it means that my fingers are now can't easily hit the numbers because my palm is doing that. Whereas if my thumb and my palm are doing that, I still have pretty full movement with my fingers. So Control Alt I could definitely see, but then I don't know what the chord would be for the next, the last bar number 5. So, Now, if you have a fancy mouse, you might use some of the special extra button on your mice to kind of change which bar your numbers 1 through 12 do. But anyway, what I have done is I said, okay, apparently it is button 4 for your mouse wheel to tilt right, if your mouse wheel does tilt right. I switched over to a mouse that doesn't have tilting behavior in the wheel, and I regretted it. I am back to a mouse that can do that. Okay, cool. Tellurian has a shortcut to doing the shortcuts, which is to just say, drag whatever it is that's in the first spot out of there, do your shortcut there, and then swap it back. And then you don't have to know the shortcut numbers at all. That is a very viable way to do it. It just, I always put /LOC on the leftmost of the 5th bar on all of my characters. So I just have it in my head that is slot 51, and, that's fine. Sorry, I said 51, I meant 61. I knew what I was saying. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and turn in Cheat of the Week. I am not going to bother with the gourds or the crows. Yeah, preventing murder. I'm not going to bother with those. Unfortunately, the positions in the maze, I've never sorted out exactly if there are good spawn positions or if they can be anywhere, and they're rarely at the places where people are like, this is a good spawn position for it. So without a better map, I just for those I just give the paths through the maze because you can use either of them as long as you're not being graded on Cheat of the Week or challenge, and then just run around looking for the gourds and the crows. Okay, so we're going to be done in here. And how did I not talk to Rosa? I know I talked to Rosa. Oh, maybe I finished 3 and need to talk. Is Bountiful Harvest intro the wrapper of the wrapper? Probably. Let's go do that before we forget, because that'd be sad if I don't get a gold token. Although I'm not sure if I have enough days for that. Maybe I do. Okay, we are back. 1,000 virtue experience. Don't mind if I do. Okay, great. So let me go ahead and switch over to a what?
Oh, okay, never mind. I thought you finished all 3 of them.
I'm going to go ahead and switch over to a hunter so we can see the get focus function. Then I'll switch over to a mariner and we'll see if we can provoke any sort of similar functionality. And then we'll go back, get on track. So let's go ahead and remember to put our Fateful Toolkit in charts. All right, oh my goodness. And then log off. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pull over my locally cached documentation. And this is going to be, let's see, hunter. Great. Get focus, get stance. Do I have a mariner? I don't have mariner, so we're going to see what we can get. So let's come on into a hunter. So what we're going to do is we're going to load up a plugin, and it doesn't really matter which. We're just going to throw some custom code in there. So I'm going to stop standing in the middle of all of this action, but you know what? I will talk to Ms. Hornblower. You may take a moment of my time, but only one moment. Okay, we're going to come on up here away from all of that stuff down there. Great. So let's come on in to a plugin. We're in the bonus token item round. Actually, I'm going to open a new window and come on into the subscriber buffs reminder. And in here, we're going to put our test code because we can easily undo it later. How do we do that? With source control. So we're going to come into subscriber buffs reminder. What changes do we have? Oh yeah, we'll come back to that later. But for now, we can, in our main function, start playing around. So let's come on up to the top here. We have a local player. Great. In our local player, I would like to just do some basic things like get class. So turbine, do I have debug? Let's find out. Debug class. And we're going to go local player get class. Awesome. And then local attributes equals the local player get attributes. And then just for kicks, we're going to say attributes and dump attributes. Thank you. Oops. And let's go ahead and load this up. So we load this up, and let's get our plugins window over here. And we can see we are class 162. I don't suppose the wiki version is back up, is it? Nope. Okay. So in the class enum, we the only thing I don't like about this documentation, it doesn't spell out the class stuff specifically, but we can, using the Lunar Waters Lua extension for Visual Studio Code, we can come on in and say if, just for kicks, local player get class equals, and this is turbine dot gameplay dot class dot hunter, then, and we'll go ahead and say debug hunter. Now the numbers don't matter, but if you are curious about the hunter, about the values, then you can come in here and you can see how this is defined out to be hunter equals 162, and we can see in here probably that Mariner, Corsair, oh, they may not be defined, although I haven't updated this extension in forever. So well, let's go ahead and unload and reload, and we can see class 162 hunter. Awesome. Attributes is a thing. It's a pointer, and so our dump function isn't going to be very useful there yet. But let's go ahead and see what else we have. So in our attributes, if we come into hunter attributes, which is what we would get for the get attributes call on a hunter local player, we should be able to see focus change, stance change, get focus, get stance. Great. So let's go ahead and say debug stance, and that's going to be attributes get stance, and debug focus, and attributes get focus. Now these aren't showing up in the IntelliSense because the extension thinks of this as an attributes class, not as a hunter attributes, for instance. So let's see, is there a way to do that? Besides doing like a function? Cast variable to another type. Tell me more, Lua. I don't know. Let's see. Hunter attributes. Can we just do that? Yeah, we can't do that, although the typing would love to do that. So instead, what we're going to do is a function get attributes, get hunter attributes. And so what we're going to do is return local player get attributes. But what we're going to do is document it so that the extension knows what we're doing. So we're not returning attributes, we're returning hunter attributes. And then the error is kind of in here, like, oh, I don't know what, what's going on? I don't know what to do. And there may be a keyword in like in other languages, there could be like as hunter attributes or something. But as long as it's there, by the time we get to here, the extension is like, well, this is definitely hunter attributes. I know about that. So the get stance and the get focus functions make sense to it, I think. What we're going to do, though, is see if it actually works. Oh, I forgot to actually call it. That's silly of me. All right. Well, I was very hopeful, but it didn't actually work. Why didn't it work? Get attributes. All right. Well, I don't actually need that except for fixing IntelliSense. So let's come back up here and make sure the rest of it worked before I get too into it. Get stance and nil values. Get stance may not be a thing anymore. Get focus should work. But I'll tell you what, there are other plugins that do this. So let's double check our assumptions. We're going to come into Plugin Compendium. And coming into Focus, Hunt or Focus Display. Great. Okay, so if we do something that gives us focus, for instance, intense concentration, great, we can see that it works. Let's go see how it works. So, new folder, new window, open folder, and this is going to be in Documents, Lord of the Rings Online, plugins, and this is going to be Hunter Focus Display. Great. So we're going to search for get focus and figure out what we're doing wrong. I did call get instance, right? Yep, local player is that get instance. Great. Did I say get attributes instead of get class attributes? That's such a silly thing for me to have done. Let's try that again. But this is why we check our assumptions. Great. Okay, so stance is 0. Focus is 9. Awesome. If I run around a little bit, can I change my focus? I can. Great. Okay. Focus is now 7. Awesome. So that will teach me. I was so busy looking at the get attributes that I should have looked at get class attributes. Whoopsie. Now get class attributes still returns unattributes, but it's going to be more useful. Okay, so that's 100 attributes. Awesome. So if we go back to our little function there, function get class attributes, and we say return the same thing, and we say that that's instead of a class attributes is going to be a hunter attributes. Then instead of this saying unknown that, unknown this, what I want to see is that, oh yes, we do know about that. Great, it's that function there. Let's see, unload, reload. Yep, we can say our stance is 0, our focus is 7. Awesome. So we have sort of reconstructed a basic idea of what should this code look like. Oh, Tellurian says, by the way, still looking for a mouse, Little Redhead? I'll leave Little Redhead to reply in chat, but I think that Little Redhead, just like me, have settled on the G600, although this is an import from Japan.
Like that. Decoration.
Oh, I'm sorry. Tillion's talking about the in-game decorations, which awesome. I will let her reply on that as well then. I think Little Redhead is saying I never did sort that out, but has had a typo.
Yeah, never.
Okay, so we have a sense of how the class attributes should work. We have a sense that if we tried to dump it out, we are not going to find anything useful here, except I'm a little curious if we can do anything with that implementation pointer. So you know what? Let's do it. We're going to go ahead and attributes, and then debug implementation, dump attributes. I think this will not give us anything useful, but I am curious to see what it does. It's a pointer. Awesome. Well, so what we want to do is switch out to being a mariner and see if we can get something similar. Maybe there's a get balance function. Now that we have code that is working for a hunter, it's hopefully going to be a little bit more straightforward to verify whether or not we can get something similar for a mariner. Okay, come, Zeman. Little Redhead says, I don't know where I'd put it now. Decorating went all differently. Sigh. So I guess I'll skip it for now and ping you when I'm ready to deal with it. So hopefully that flexibility works for Tolarian. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and just run up the hill here a little bit. So what we're going to see is that this code is not going to work out of the box. Plugins, there we go. What we can see is there is no get stance function, which is not surprising. I got a lot of windows up. I want fewer windows up right now. Okay, so we can see that those functions don't exist. That means we can try and find ones that do. So we're going to start by commenting those out. So the obvious thing to do is start with what is it called in game, at least in English. And we have an attunement, we have this thing, balance. Okay, let's try get balance. And we know it's not a hunter attribute. So this function here, we're going to get rid of it just because it's not going to be right. But let's see if there is such a thing. So we're going to go ahead and load this up. Balance. Okay, so I load this up and I see class is 216 and balance is 25. So 216 is not in this, but it could be. So I'm just going to come in and say mariner. Class mariner. Is that how we spell this? Mariner. Okay. Equals 216. So we come back in to here, and now we can use that. Is it a dot mariner? And we'll say mariner. Okay, great. Unload and reload. So we can see it's a mariner, and currently the balance is 25. Now my current balance is 25, so that's very promising. Now I need to do something to change my balance, and unfortunately I do not know what I'm doing when it comes to a mariner, so I'm going to go ahead and get rid of my treasured jackal and my cobra. Let's see. Looks like Belly of Brian attunes, so let's do it. Unload and reload. Wait a second. Well, how do I change my my balance if none of these do that? Hey, anyone know how to play a mariner who knows how to do something when you're out of combat to your balance? Get into combat. All right. Press the skill, aiming left at the top. Oh yeah. Hey, bam. Okay, balance 24. Great. And balance 26. So what we can see is that that value is not static. We can cause that value to change. It corresponds to our balance. So I'm going to go ahead and say that yes, when they added the Mariner, some kind solid SSG did add a get balance function. Just call it on your get the results of the get class attributes call. It'll be a Mariner attributes with at least get balance as a callable function. I think I may just pop that over into the LOTRO Discord server while I'm thinking about it, since that is an answer. In moment. Logins. Balance. Who was asking? No. Where did I see that? All right, maybe it wasn't the LOTRO. Maybe it was in the Cube plugins. It was somewhere. All right. Well, Kubo, if you were the one who asked that, remind me where I saw that. I'd love to put an answer out there, but that's an answer for you anyway. Call get balance, unget class attributes, and the sky's your limit, or at least the balance is your limit. Now, obviously, we don't want all of this code in our subscriber buffs reminder, so we're going to come on over to our source control and say, hey, we're going to discard that change. Kabam! It's gone. Now, be careful if you are discarding a change like that. There is no undo button for that. There are other ways to get rid of it more temporarily. Oh, Kubo, I see what you are posting there. Moobot didn't like it, but I see it. Apologies, I should have realized that that was going to happen. Actually, maybe Little Redhead can pull that link out of chat and toss it at me, because...
You want it in chat or elsewhere?
Discord. Oh, I've got to go to mod view. I bet I could see it in mod view. I just didn't see it live coming in. Oh well.
I can send it to you.
Awesome. So, very cool. So if we unload this and reload this, we see that our changes are no longer there. Very, very neat. Okay, I am going to probably shift back to a different character. Obviously, I don't know what I'm doing with the Mariner, so I'm going to pop on into one of my minstrels, I think. Okay. Come, Maffadil. All right, I have typed it into Discord. Thank you, Little Redhead and Kubo for helping me get there. It was indeed in the official Discord server. I just didn't find it. So there. That'll teach me to skim quickly. Okay. So we are over here on the hill. We're not going to do any more festivaling on stream, I think, unless there's a specific question about a specific quest. But what we are going to do is go on back to... Do I want these? I don't think I want those. Go on back to writing the plugin. Now, I did get a couple of things from Little Redhead. I'm going to go ahead and sort those really fast so they're not in my inventory anymore. Umber. It's weird doing this without the Prime Bags plugin. Not impossible, but a little weird. Great. All that looks pretty reasonable. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and close down the Hunter Focus Display code. I got what I needed from it, which was how should this work. We're going to start by making a new repository for the bonus token item reminder to live in. I don't love the name, but none of the other proposed names that came from chat or my own brain really got any better. So we're going to start with that and deal with it. So we're going to come on over to a GitHub. And I'm just pulling in a window from off stream. Awesome. So Cube plugins, that's me. We're going to go ahead and make a new repository. So repositories, new. What are we going to call it? Same thing we're calling this. So just going to copy paste so I don't make any typing mistakes. This is going to be bonus token item reminder. Great. We're going to come on in here, and that's the repository name. It's available. Awesome. Description. A LOTRO plugin to remind you if you left a bonus token item on another character. Choose visibility. Sure, public. Why not? Everything else is fine. So the main thing for me is I'm going to copy off this GitHub path here so that in my local fork source control repository program that is called fork, which is annoying to search for, I imagine, but you can find it at fork.dev. And I'm going to go ahead and make a new repository here. Shortcut Control N, or you can do it through the file new, and it's going to see that that is a GitHub repository on the clipboard and automatically paste it in. It asks me where I want it. I don't want it there. Instead, I'm going to say the current folder. I'm going to rename it because Git is going to want to initialize some stuff in that location. So we're going to say it's going to go into Cube plugins, and the name is bonus token item reminder. Awesome. Clone. Now we're cloning an empty repository here. That's why we don't want any files in the way. And then we can come on in and move everything into this folder. This folder has a hidden .git folder. So this folder has some special stuff in it. So we can't just rename, like delete this, rename the old one to this. The contents of this folder have the repository information. So we need to keep that in place and just move those other files in. Now, they're not there anymore, so we can delete that old folder. Awesome. Neck asks in chat, is that big box PC games on the shelves in the background? It is probably not. If you are looking on the shelves over here, then you are seeing a number of board games. So some off the top of my head, there's probably a couple different incarnations of Brass right around there. What else can we see? That is pretty fuzzy. Zulkin is probably on that shelf, and a number of other possibly identifiable ones. So Little Redhead and I both enjoy board games from time to time, and some of our physical collection is back there, and then some more are behind my head there, and the rest of it is yarn for knitting and crochet and other crafting. But good guess. I have had big box PC games in my life, but. And I go back and forth on this. I really appreciate having the physical media, but there is a degradation element to CDs, that kind of installation media, which means that you can't passively keep them for a couple of decades and be confident that they will still be readable at the other end. So they're great as an artifact, but unless you have put in place a process by which you're going to make sure that media is updated and backed up in other places, and every 10 or 20 years possibly reburn those CDs and maybe screen print a new label onto them. Or maybe you're talking older magnetic media, maybe you've got some 5.5 floppy software or 3.25. Then yeah, I do not have it in me right now to have that level of dedication to media preservation. So I think any big box game on the shelf that had physical media on it would definitely be destined to decay before I really paid the kind of attention that I need to. Next says, thanks for the answer, and I agree, they won't last long. I have old VHS at home, and those do not age well, I can tell you. Yeah, magnetic media that is spooled so tightly, like that, you can actually have bleeding through from one layer of the ribbon to the something adjacent to it. It does not do good things to picture or audio quality. And so these can be really important things to have, but if you have CDs in your life, just be aware that you really want to have that information backed up somewhere else. Now, fortunately, nowadays, external hard drives or even internal hard drives can be redonkulously big compared to a CD. A CD does not contain a lot of information. Even a dual layer DVD no longer contains a lot of information compared to what we can store with SSDs or spinner drives. But it does take an active level of archiving. So just have a little mental thing of every 5 years, every 10 years, if you have that physical media, maybe just go back and check and see, is this still good? And if it's not, how am I going to make it good? Well, the CDs, there's not much you're going to do. Maybe wipe off some dust and try again. But at a certain point, there will be degradation, and you should have an answer to, how will I replace this CD with the data that I still have in another format somewhere else? And if you don't, you are setting yourself up for that day when you go in and you put your CD into your player and it doesn't work. And yeah, that's a sad day. I don't want that day to come for anyone. So just have a backup plan in mind. Now, there's all sorts of problems with only having digital copies of files. Don't get me wrong, that's not in itself a panacea. From having someone break in and steal your external hard drive to viruses to malware, all sorts of problems. Backups are important. It's a complex or complicated subject, but backups are important. And anything that's really important in your life, in the digital world, just have a thought of, if this were to disappear, this thing, my computer, my hard drive, my access to Google Drive, whatever it is, wherever you're putting these things, if that were to disappear, what's the backup? And if you don't have an answer now's a great time to start thinking about what should that answer be. I've known people who have been amateur photographers, and their approach was have a big honkin' external hard drive, and once a month, update that with the latest version of everything and take it to their bank and put it in a safety deposit box. And then it is off-site and is reasonably well protected against theft and damage. And so they'd have two of those, and they would just rotate. Here's the new one. They take it there. They bring the old one back, and now that's their hard drive. Or some combination of that. This is secondhand knowledge. But that sounds like overkill to me. But on the other hand, if there were a fire or flood or some other thing that damaged this physical building that I'm in, what backup solution do I have to account for that? And sure, maybe some things are online. That's great. And that's kind of my current thing, is important things are both here and backed up to the cloud, quote unquote. But there's not a lot of redundancy there. So I've got some new external hard drives to kind of throw into that mix of saying, okay, at the very least, I can have them on different floors of the house. So if it floods down here, there's a backup upstairs. Or if there's a fire in one room, maybe another room's okay. If the building burns down, though, that doesn't get you very far. Anyway, not to get off track. Yeah, as Little Redhead says, too late. It's easy for me to want to wax poetic, perhaps, on this subject, because in our increasingly digital lives, the integrity of these things is something we can very easily take for granted until the day we can't. And it is almost inevitably too late to do something about it by the time you realize you need to have done something about it. So just a little, forewarned is forearmed kind of thing. Think about what is important among your digital empire, and how safe is it from data rot, from malicious actions of third parties, from the weather. And hopefully you'll be well prepared for whatever the future brings. Anyway, plugins. So we have a new repository, and we can go ahead and consider what things we want to go ahead and commit. And so we're going to go ahead and commit initial commit of plugin icon. We're going to go ahead and stick that in there. We have Can I? Yeah, okay. We're going to go ahead and push that out. And we're going to double check that that worked, be coming into the repository, and seeing that we have initial commit of plugin icon and it shows up. Awesome. View raw, that sounds terrible. Oh, it downloaded. That's not needed. Okay, so it is working correctly, and we can push files out for that offsite backup at least. So initial commit of empty release files. And these are just placeholders until we get something in there. But it gets the file structure in there. So that's empty, great. Initial commit VS Code file. I don't know that I care too much about what's in there, but it is going to keep on being created by Visual Studio Code, and I either want to ignore it or just accept that it's there. And I'm going to accept that it's there for now. Okay. These were all things to do or whatnot. So we're going to, instead of committing this file, we're going to move those to GitHub issues to track those. I see Nafutu's name in there. I don't know if they're still around and listening, but yep, your stuff is going to go into GitHub. Okay, we have some functions. Decopy, dump, debug, info. Those all look great. I'm going to take those. Initial commit basic functions. All right, options. Yeah, initial commit of a blank options panel. README. Do I want a README? Is there anything in the README? Let's get back to Visual Studio Code and get the right one open. It appears to be empty. I'm going to pretend I didn't see that. Great. Settings. This is all wrong. We need to come back in, but this will give us a sense of that. Okay, what's up with here? This is a good starting point. Initial commit of strings file. Timer. This is a basic timer class. Initial commit of basic timer class. That's fine. Settings I don't like, so let's go take a look at that. And so if you are using Visual Studio Code or a modern integrated development environment, IDE at home, a lot of them will integrate with source control. And we can see here that Visual Studio Code is reminding me that settings, the to-do file, and our main are uncommitted files or untracked files, as it's saying. And if we were to come into one of the ones that is tracked, if we made a change like hello, we can see, well, first of all, there's error message, but let's go ahead and make a comment. We can see that this is a modified file. That's what the M is there for. And so we can easily kind of track down those things that are modified or whatnot. Now, what's interesting is it still says it's modified. Yeah, well, not anymore. Okay, so We're going to come into settings. Oh, was there an empty line at the top? There was an empty line at the top. I do that sometimes. Okay. In our save settings, we just save out what is in settings. Awesome. Now, for this, we need server settings, but I imagine we also want character settings. The server settings are going to track which of these items are on the server. Right now, we're only caring about 3 of them, but it's possible there are other ones that we would also want to know about. Bonus experience items, for instance, someone mentioned last time. And so what I'd like to do is separate this out to server settings, or it could be, your mileage may vary, but you might find it works better for you to do settings underscore server equals this. Whether you want to end with the thing that it is and have other things sort of specializing, or if you like them all to start with the same thing and then you can customize underneath that. Consistency is the important thing here. Not that one is objectively better than the other, but as long as everyone on your project is using the same thing, or if it's a solo project, as long as you are using it consistently throughout time, which is harder than it sounds. That's the important thing. But if we look at other examples, we don't see settings save and settings load. We see save settings and load settings. So if we're going to end with the settings here, let's do that with the variables as well. So we have server settings and just settings. But just settings is prone to failure. So we're going to actually say character settings and server settings. Whoa, no, I don't know what keyboard shortcut I just pressed, but I don't like that. Okay. Now, there's actually a third scope that we can be looking at, which is account settings, which is to say it applies across all servers. And that could be an interesting place to put the where do you have what stuff. Do I like that? I mean, yes, in the sense that... but probably no. I think there could be some utility of, oh, what server is that thing on? But I don't think we're quite ready for that. Anyway, we're going to need server-specific stuff. Sorry, not need. We will appreciate having server-specific stuff to track what is the current server anyway. So I'm going to say we're not going to bother with account stuff right now. So instead, what we're going to do is look at this settings data scope and say, okay, don't like that. We are going to have an server settings data scope, and that's going to be data scope server. We're going to have a character settings data scope, and that's going to be character. And the settings file name could actually be the same in both of those. In fact, calling it underscore settings, I don't know if we need that. It's kind of inherently a settings file. There could be other things. Okay, we'll leave it. So we're going to go ahead and call this bonus token item reminder settings. Now, we do actually have to be careful because there is a maximum file name length, the maximum number of characters you can have in a file name. But because we don't have any placeholders that allow us to insert the changes to this, we're going to know right away whether it works or not. This is consistent across all the platforms that I've heard of for Lord of the Rings Online. But just be aware of it. This is 31 bytes as the Visual Studio Code is telling us here. Interesting. And so if the max was 32, we're fine. If the max was 30, we're actually going to cause a problem. And it might be something bigger. It might be 64. I ran into this with deed tracker because I was encoding the name of a character in a file that had other things in it and ran into problems there. Okay, so we have a settings file name, but we if we wanted that to be different for character versus server, we could come back and do that later. So we have server and character settings. So we're going to go ahead and save out 2 of these during our save settings. We're going to go ahead and do the server settings data scope and the character data scope. with the file name and server settings versus character settings. Awesome. When we load, we're going to do something else. So we do want default server settings, and we want default character settings. And we don't care about time, I don't think, but we can come back and get that later. Okay, so when we are loading things, we're going to go ahead and separate this out to function load server settings and function load character settings. And we'll just call these from here, load server, load character, and then we don't have to worry about mixing up the two. So the basic format is probably still going to be pretty similar. Loaded settings equals, and then we're going to go ahead and load from the server data scope the expected file name. Awesome. Did we load something good? If that's a table, then we want server settings equal to that. And then this is where we do fix-ups of contents. Otherwise, we can do a deep copy of the default server settings. And we really just want to duplicate that for our character string. And again, any customize, fix up or modify any saved values here. And this is really the only thing that's going to be different. Now, because it's so similar, it could be tempting to try to have a generic function that does this. But I think I'm going to go ahead and just split them out from here and see how I feel about that. Okay, so character settings equals that. That equals default. Okay. And then we do need the other character settings scope. So loaded settings equals this. With that scope, if we loaded something, then that. Otherwise that. Load calls those two functions. They are different. Yep. And then save just goes ahead and saves them out because we're not doing anything else. But one could imagine a save server settings and a save character settings, and they each just do one thing. Oh, sure. Function save server settings and function save character settings. It's overkill for now, but one can definitely see other plugins that get so complicated that they really benefit from separating these things out. But we're just going to go ahead and call save character setting. There we go. Okay, so this is a pretty good. Tillian in chat says, if you want to do some bug hunting, Recipe Tracker of V2 seems to have problems during startup when the character has a fourth profession unlocked. I did not manage to fix it without a deeper analysis. Well, lucky for you, this character does have a fourth profession unlocked, as it is my completionist character. Oh, I was curious. How long have I had this character online? 4 months, 2 weeks. All right, if we assume by 4 months it means 30 days. 2 weeks, 2 hours, and roughly a quarter. So 3,218 hours on this character. All right, that's fair. When did Treebeard launch?
June 30th.
Okay.
I forget which year.
Treebeard came out in 2021, so that's over the last 4 years. So 804 hours online a year, or an average of 2 a day. Now, that's actually not right because that would be June to June, and also doesn't really take into account the fact that I can easily sit here for 4 hours during a stream, which doesn't really count as gameplay, but it is still amusing to me. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at this. So if we want to install a plugin, the first thing we can do is come into the LOTRO Plugin Compendium and see if it is in the list of installable plugins. Let's take a look. It says Recipe Tracker V2. Last updated 2021. Let's go ahead and add that. Great. So, first thing we can do is try and, well, we are already in LOTRO, so remember if you add or remove plugins, you need to click this little green arrow here for LOTRO to know that the list of plugins has changed. Recipe Tracker V2. Let's go ahead and launch it. And we do see a problem. This is on line 442. So if we go ahead and launch Visual Studio Code and go ahead and try to open a folder, and this is in Documents, Lord of the Rings Online. This is in Plugins, and I'm going to say Bauco Sid Recipe Tracker. We're going to go ahead and open that up. So what's up with main window? Well, this is line 442. And we can see attempt to index a nil value. Well, that's interesting. Is it possible a profession buttons is only initialized to be an array of free things? It is possible. Look at that, from 1 to 3. What happens if we just change that to 1 to 4? I mean, that's an interesting question, but I do wonder how many times 1 to 3 shows up. Now, is there a way to know how many professions we have as a character? Maybe. Let's come on into the API documentation, and we're going to come into local player, and then say profession info. All right, where do we get that? All right, I don't see profession in the local class player, but I mean, obviously we do get that. So this is profession info. All right, player attributes, get profession info. Okay, yeah. So if we're coming into attributes, no, we want player attributes. Free peoples? Get profession info. Okay. Profession info for the specified profession if the player has that profession. If not, nil will be returned. Oh, awesome. Okay. So, and this is tossing in the list of professions. All right, cool. So, looking in pairs of profession, and awesome, okay. So we're iterating through that, and we're getting profession info for those. If it's there, then what do we do with it? We make a profession data, we populate it with stuff, and then we put it into professions of V. Okay, awesome. So character professions looks pretty flexible. Okay, that's fine. And then profession. All right, so going back to the 1 to 3, where does this happen? And you know what? Let's just be a little cheeky and just change that to 4 and see what happens. Okay, fantastic. Now, is this a good idea? No. For one thing, you can see the fourth one gets covered up if you because it spills out. They didn't account for this being the case. Another thing, that might not be true. I have characters who okay, maybe I don't. It is possible to have a character with 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4 professions. Is it possible to get more yet?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. So currently 0 to 4, anywhere in there. And so what would be better is as we're populating our get profession info, we can have character.professions, character.profession count equals 0, right? Now, you could do this differently, but you can just have a separate variable that tracks this. And so if we come in here and say character professions, that the count equals the count plus 1. And so this, as we are initializing information about the character, we're also keeping track of how many of their professions. So at this point, I would swap out the 4 for the count. Now, it doesn't actually fix the problem of too many, but what it does do, well, I mean, first, it loads. No, it doesn't load. It should load. Oh, character is nil. Why is character nil? Where is this defined? Oh, it's in recipes. Interesting. Okay. What is it called over here? That's just character. There we go. No, it's in a different function. Okay. Okay. Do we have it in this area? Okay, let's try that. Okay, great. So, what I want to do is switch to a character that doesn't have 4 professions. And that should be easy because this is the only one that does. And verify that that still makes something reasonable. And in fact, do I have any characters that wouldn't have 3 professions?
I have characters that only have 2.
Yes, Snell. So we'll start with Snell. I was doing a test. I was curious if you just did questing, just did landscape questing, didn't worry about professions at all, just blitzed through as much questing as you could, how much time would it take to get from, say, 1 to 50? Somewhere I may even have a spreadsheet that tracks that information. But I got to mid-60s in Mirkwood and was like, cool, I have accomplished my goal of wondering what this was, and never bothered to put professions on them as far as I know. So, you currently don't have a craft profession. Awesome. Let's go ahead and take a look at this. So, recipe tracker. There we go. So, but now I'm curious. Okay, let's simulate if character.vocation. Get vocation doesn't do anything anymore. Well, either way. Let's go ahead and put profession count back to 3, and that will simulate it as it was. And we can see here, we get kind of nonsensical results. Okay, that's great. So, with it at nothing, we can see, great, you don't have one. Awesome. Hey, Skidgosi says, thanks to before I finished challenging wheat and cheetah wheat for the first time. So I would say I can't take credit for those very excellent maps. Those were up on the forums. Unfortunately, they were old posts on the forums. So I have them archived locally, and I'm sure other people do as well. But those specific images may not be findable on the forums anymore, unless someone preserved them. But I borrowed, hoisted, stole those images and embedded them in Festival Buddy. And so, sure, I'm happy to take credit for the thing that presents you the maps. But those maps are excellent, and I did not come up with them. So just full disclosure there. Okay, so let's go ahead and log off and log back on with a character who has more professions. Looks like all of my other characters have 3. Well, that's fine. Okay, we'll come on with Tasha then. Okay, so if we come on in here and come into recipe tracker and we load that up, we can see 1, 2, 3, and all of that is looking good. So, thanks, Arda. I would say the last thing we want to look at, are those even any good? Maybe. Finesse and critical instead of evade. Yeah. Excellent. Those I can just get rid of. Okay. So what we're going to do is go back to Affidel and say, okay, if there are 4 of them, one of those buttons is currently hanging off. So let's do something reasonable about that. Possibly by making 2 rows of 2 instead of 1 row of 4. Now, Tullian, I don't know if the person who makes this plugin is still active at all, but we can see if they support patches. Ava in chat says, good afternoon. Does anyone know when the next transfer will be available? I don't. Are transfers currently off? I'll go ahead and pull that up out of curiosity. Character transfers seem to be available. So Eva, are you talking about character transfers from Dark Worlds to currently active worlds, or are you talking about something else, like Bull Roarer? Because I believe Bull Roarer is also active. So I'm curious what you are referencing. All right, Eva says yes from the Dark World. To my knowledge, they are available, so I would give it a try. And if it doesn't work, a place to go is either the forums or the official LOTRO Discord server. And you can kind of ask other players for ideas of, hey, has anyone else seen this problem? And you can also reach out to customer support if the transfer button isn't giving you any good results that you are looking for. But that's where I'd start, is just give it a try, because I think it is available. If it says, how do we transfer from there? Well, it's going to be hard for me to demonstrate specifically because I do not have any characters on there. But YouTube might be on the Shire server transfer. Awesome. So I'm going to pull up a video and then stop it from playing because I don't want it to play. I failed. Okay, I'm going to share this in chat. But I would look at this for how to transfer your character as a video walkthrough for what you should see during the character transfer process. But essentially, it is going to come up with the servers that you have characters on and how many characters are on each of these. And this will probably include both your Free People's characters and any Monster Play characters you have on those servers, and possibly any characters you have deleted, but I don't think so. I think it's just Free People's and Monster Play. So you're going to see that. You're going to click that transfer button here. It's going to think for a little while. Maybe just go and get a glass of something, your favorite drink to drink, because it can take a few minutes to populate. Usually it's pretty fast. As you're going through, you're going to select which world you're going to transfer from. I think you can only do one world at a time, so you'll select one and then click next. If you hover over that world, it's going to just give you a little tooltip with which characters and how long ago the game thinks it was that you last logged in with those characters. Now, for the Dark Worlds, doesn't really matter because you can't log in with them, but if you're transferring from an active world, that can be interesting to see. Under the select characters, you're probably just going to want to hit select all. That's going to be all shared items and each character. But if you do want to send them to different servers, if you have ideas of splitting them up, then you'll want to go ahead and pick which server your shared items are going to first, because everything in your wallet that is shared everything that is unique will go to that first server, and then your wardrobe can bounce to multiple different places. But the actual items in your shared items will all go to the same place. So your shared storage, housing storage, your shared currencies, and your destiny points, those all go to that first place you send them. Wardrobe can be sent to multiple places. So if you are splitting them up, just be aware that all that shared stuff that goes to a single destination. Uh, After that, you're going to have selected some number of them. You're going to go to the next screen, and moving them should be free because it's a dark world transfer. If you were copying from moving from an active server to another active server, there's usually a LOTRO point cost to that. Um, this is also a mechanism that you can use to get characters onto Bullroarer or Palantir, which are the test servers. So if you see people talking about demoing stuff over on Bullroarer, this is how you would get a character there instead of just making one from scratch. You can do that too. So if you're doing the Dark World to live, then you're should expect it to be free, and then it'll give you a summary screen, and then you'll hit confirm when you're happy with it, and then you'll just wait. And you should usually get an email saying the process is complete. But if after 10 minutes you haven't received that, you could be bold and try to log in and see if it worked. I have done transfers where I have definitely gotten emails very quickly, and I have done transfers where the email never really seemed to come through. So your mileage may vary. Anyway, that's the general how to do. Thank you very much to Little Redhead and that incredible character transfer wizard walkthrough video. I did leave a link in the stream chat there, and you can find it just doing what I did, which is like Beyond the Shire character transfer walkthrough or something. Little Redhead in chat did say free transfers are once again available from our former 32-bit game worlds to our 64-bit game worlds. That is a quote from the LOTRO Dark Worlds transfer document. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at that real fast. And that's this one here over on LOTRO.com. So these are from Arkenstone, Brandywine, Crickhull, Gladden, Landerball, Belgier, Evernight, Gwaihir, Laurelin, Saranen, and Treebeard. If it says, "Oh, hey, it worked. I was so scared I was going to lose my characters. I didn't let the transfer page stay up long enough." Yeah, it can be a little disconcerting when you get an hourglass that does not appear to do anything. And unfortunately, there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that would need to be done in order for that transfer wizard to show you useful information. And I think they could maybe do a little bit better job of being like collecting information or giving you some feedback that something is happening. But the whole launcher, and that's everything that you see, all of this until you get into the game, is something that among all the other things they're doing, they have said that they're working on remaking this launcher. And so I think any foibles with the existing launcher are probably going to be on the back burner unless they're really critical in favor of a new launcher that'll do the things that they want it to do and hopefully be more maintainable and all of that. And maybe even have two-factor authentication, which many of us have been crossing our fingers for quite some time. So, yeah, it's a bit of a foible, but I don't think we're going to see any change to that until a new client comes along, a new launcher comes along. Anyway, some of that same information with with more free-formed circling tools used is available over here on the LOTRO Dark Worlds transfer page as well. Awesome. Well, Ava, I'm glad we were able to resolve that for you. Happy LOTROing. I hope you have a good time in your new chosen home. Okay, well, I can feel my voice is starting to go. So what I want to do is see if we can do something meaningful with the recipe tracker, and then probably call it for today's stream. I am curious, though, over on LOTRO interface, recipe tracker. V2, and just to see, okay, it does support patches. Someone may have already fixed this, but I do enjoy going into plugins I've never seen before and seeing what would a reasonable fix be for code. So I may not ever upload this code. This may just be for funsies, but we're going to go ahead and see what we can do. So on this character, we're going to come on in and load up the recipe tracker 2 and come on into here. And we can see that fourth button there. So what I think we would want to do is, if that number is bigger than 3, we want to wrap 1 or 2 into the next row. So what we need to do is come into the main window and see how is this being done. So we have a profession button. Awesome. We're setting the position. Great. So the real question is, where is the next thing? This is the recipe tree. Is a tree view. Great. What I want to do is say recipe tree set back color. Oh, it's already happening. Great. We're gonna come on down here. Whoops. And this is gonna be debug. And this is gonna be turbine.ui.color. I don't know. What's a blanched almond look like? Okay, great. It looks hideous. No, if you like blanched almonds, it's fine. But we're gonna regret our choices here. We're gonna go to the dark green. My goodness, that's vibrant. Okay, so this thing is just below where we are. So the question is, how does it get there? We can see the position is tree left and tree top. Where is tree top defined? Okay, it's search top plus 20. Okay, is that true? Yeah, okay. Great, I love the configuration. Where is search top? Search top is just 100. I'm not thrilled with that because it doesn't give us... Well, it does mean that we'll need to change search top if. And so let's come on in here and say if character dot profession count is greater than 3, then end search top equals search top plus something. Now these buttons are 32 tall, so let's assume that we would want 32 plus a bit. So we're going to say 40. Leave room for the second line of buttons. Okay, let's go ahead and see what that does. Okay, whoa. Was search top already used somewhere? All these things were to... Yeah, I can't do that. We actually can do that, but we need to... Do we have access to the character at the beginning of this function? Let's find out. And if we do, setting up main window with character.profession count professions. Let's find out. With 4 professions. We do have that. Awesome. So what we need to do is search top needs to be changed here before it's used in the algorithm, in the setup of the other variables. Of course, I don't know what I was thinking there. So search top equals that, and then if so, we should be able to go ahead and take that into account here. Why is it so big? Search top equals 100. Okay. Equals plus 10? It's so many pixels. Okay. That's fine. That's weird. Okay, 20 seems fine. I don't think I understand why, but sure. So, good enough. We have made space here, and then what we need to do is have logic for X and Y. So, if local 2 rows equals false. If character dot profession count is greater than 3, then 2 rows equals true, and then the position, and I don't really like them setting up all the values here. So what we want to do is say profession button top. That's fine for now. Profession button width, okay. Local profession button left equals this. And so first of all, we want, actually that's going to be this profession button left. And then if if 2 rows and I is greater than 2, then we'll redo this for right now. Actually, local I to use equals I if 2 rows and I is greater than 2, then that's going to be I equals I minus something. Let's say it's -2. Let's do 2 and 2. And then if we unload this and load it in, we haven't adjusted the top yet. So equals that, no, we need, so local this profession button top equals profession button top plus something. We need it to know for the second row. Local second row equals false. If that, then second row equals true. Profession top plus, actually, I'd rather have a number to use for math. So we're going to use row 0 and row equals 1. This is actually a bad idea because all Lua stuff is 1-based instead of 0-based. It would make the math cleaner, but this will be a little bit more Lua-ish. So we'll do row -1 times 20, and that'll just space us down a little bit. And then as long as we use this in here, oh, Snafood says, thank you for the stream, gotta go. Well, you are welcome. I'll be going in not too long myself, but I want to solve this challenge. Okay, so we have 2 rows here. We can see, though, that these are not centered. Do we care? I don't know that we care too much. Also, 20 just doesn't feel like quite enough, so I'm going to say 22. Just give it 2 extra pixels. Great. Okay. So those are over. Everything else got pushed down, but the height of this thing, oh, that is not good. And so we need the tree height. We need to adjust that as well. So if character dot profession count is greater than 3, then this. End. And what we really want to do is say local second row height equals 0. And then second row height equals 20. And then we can just leave that, let that come through. So second row height gets added there. Awesome. And then tree height equals that minus second row height. And then if we don't have a second row, then that will just be -0. Let's try that. Okay, we can see that got the tree to be the correct size. So what can we do about, how can we test this? We can go ahead and say character dot profession count equals 3, and come on in and see what it looks like then. Didn't like it. Why didn't like it? 466. Yeah, that's fair. Okay. I was hoping for an easy way to test that, but the answer might be more. Just switching to another character. It's fine. Whatever. Okay, so this is fine. Let's go ahead and switch to another character with only 3, and we can double check that that works okay. I think it'd be important to build a way to test this into the system, but I don't think I have time for that tonight. We're going to just switch over to Arda, my hunter. Also, the name of my current Valheim character. Okay, so we are in. We're going to come on in to here, recipe tracker, load this in, and we can see the 3 of them are spaced out just fine. So, awesome. And let's go ahead and swap back over to the character with none of them and make sure that change didn't inadvertently cause an error there. And I think with that, that might be a good place to bring the stream to an end. And then I'll look online and see, is this a solved problem that someone else has done? Maybe I can release a patch for it. When I'm releasing a patch for a plugin like this, my main goal is to make the change as small and innocuous as possible. And so one thing we can do is say, okay, how big was that change? And we can do a little comparison there before we're done. So I'm going to go over to LOTRO interface. As soon as LOTRO lets me control shift or alt escape. Okay, here we go. So we're going to go ahead and download this. Great. And then downloads. We're going to go ahead and extract that zip file off screen. Here we go. So what I want to do is compare this to what is in my Lord of the Rings folder. So we're going to use Beyond Compare, which is my preferred file comparison utility. But whatever you're used to, that's the important thing. In recipes, we can see we made a character professions count equals 0, and we add 1 for each one. Now, that is such a small change to add there that we don't need to do it there. Since the only other place we're using this is main window, we could ask ourselves, okay, how do we use this value, this character.profession count? And we could kind of try to minimize the impact here. So we use it in create main window. Are we still? Yep, we're still in create main window. Update character. Okay. When does update character get called? In create main window, more create main window as a callback. Also callback. So later. In create main window and show main window. Okay. Where does show main window happen? In commands, yeah. Show main window, show main window. But when does create character? When does the create window happen? I would assume pretty early on in this. In main, we call create window. We get the current character. Okay. We call create main window. And then we call register for commands. Okay. So none of those mattered. Update, and none of the calls to update character mattered. Set current profession. Okay. That's in create main window and in update character. Okay, and that's it. So let's just double check. The update character is being called in create main window and show main window. And we're not going to hit show main window until after we've created the main window. So I'm pretty comfortable saying these changes don't need to be in recipes. Recipes, I think, is the right place for them. But if I wanted to make a patch with minimal impact, we could do it all in main window. And the way we do it is calculate how many professions the character has. And for this, we're going to do for key value in something. Professions. Character dot professions do, and we're just going to say character dot profession count equals 0. For each of that, do equals +1. And the reason we need to do this instead of we need to do in pairs. And if we did that instead of this, we should still get the same result, but we only need to modify one file in all of this. Does it work? Let's find out. Okay, we're still seeing 4 of them here. Awesome. So by removing that change from needing to be done in recipes, we can see both of these lines that were changed are commented out, so don't have any more effect here. By doing the calculation here at create main window, we only need to change this one file. When you're doing patches, each file that you change creates a central potential conflict with any other patches. So if there were a patch that affected recipes.lua, mine would overwrite that, mine would clobber that, and there would need to be coordination between different patches or whatnot. So this is a cleaner patch, but I think a worse solution. I would rather see the recipes counted here in an actual change for the plugin. But as a patch, I like this because it can all be done in one file instead of crossing into 2 files. Okay, so we've got this calculation. Now, we have to do pairs instead of I-pairs because character professions is indexed by the profession, I believe. We can double check that though. And so this is going to be turbine.shell.writeline. K is just K. And so this should be the number. 1, 5, 7, and 3. And that makes sense. If we go to turbine.lua, oh, interesting. Okay, oh, that's going to professions, great. So we can see metalsmith is 1 all the way up to cook is 10. So the output that we got there, had to hide some stuff to see it, is 1573. So metalsmith, tailor, prospector, and then scholar. And that corresponds to the buttons left to right as well. Now, one thing we could try to do is squeeze them down to fit them in like we do in this display. I just don't think that's reasonable. We can make the window wider. That doesn't seem very reasonable either. This is a fine approximate solution for what we're trying to do. We could center them. We could space the second line out. Whatever. Lots of possibilities. This is meant to be a pretty low impact change though. Okay, so those are indexed by the professions, which means they're not. There can be gaps in them, and they're not always increasing. And that means we can't use I pairs or the pound symbol for counting. In fact, if we tried that, turbine.shell.writeline, pound shows, and we can do pound character dot professions, and I think it's going to say 1. Yep, 1 profession, because we see the 1, and then the next number is not 2, so we stop counting, which is disappointing. Now, there are ways around that. Because the professions are numbers 1 through 10, you could just have those entries exist but be nil or something and account for that in other parts of the code. But again, larger changes, broader changes to how this works. So we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. We will just iterate through each one and count them. So I feel like there's got to be a better way to do this in Lua, but this is just what comes to mind. So this is a fix. What else do we have in main window? So we calculate that. Great. We have a cat making a mess in the kitchen. We set the second row height to 0 or 20. Then we add that second row height here. And down here, we know if we're doing 2 rows or not. Kind of feel like we're already checking for this. So let's go ahead and hoist this on up here. So local 2 rows equals false, and then we'll go ahead and do 2 rows equals true up here. And then this one does not need to be here. Okay. So iterating up to the count of the professions, we modify what we're using for the position. It's a lot to do. I feel like it's a little messy, but it's okay. And then we're changing that count, getting the character, changing that count. Perfect. So this is a 1 file change that we could do as a patch. Like I said, I'm going to see if anyone has put a patch out there. Talier, and I know you're having a problem. I assume you've already looked, but someone was suggesting over on LOTRO interface that something had been done, so I wouldn't want to step on any toes if there is already a patch out there. But this was a fun little diversion to be like, hey, there's something wrong with the plugin. What's sort of the minimum change we could do to make it work and work correctly for this exceptional case of having the 4 professions? So this was fun. Thank you for the suggestion, Talarian. Okay. That being said, I think my stuffy nose is catching up with me, so we're going to go ahead and bring this to a close. I don't see anything else in chat. Yes, and the distraction, Talarian. Absolutely. So that's everything we're going to cover today. Thank you so much for joining me on this exploration of LOTRO plugins. I hope to see you here next week, and then until then, keep plugging along. The Extra Life Game Day is coming up the Saturday, November, I want to say 9, no, 8, hang on. I guess we don't have an Extra Life yet. Hang on. Extra Life 2025 Game Day. When is this? November 8. Saturday, November 8. So, there's going to be a marathon of Lord of the Rings online streaming here on twitch.tv/LotroStream. Lots of different people. People are signing up for 1 or 2 hour segments. I think Little Redhead and I are both going to do a joint segment early in the day. And there's going to be all sorts of people, possibly some of these employees of Standing Stone Games as well. I suspect Cord at least, and usually others. So it's going to be a good time. There's going to be giveaways all day. Come for cool in-game stuff that doesn't change the game at all, but it is fun. And yeah, it's going to be a fun day. Dip in and out as much as you want, but you must be present to win any of the giveaways that you are entered for. So that's November 8th. Put it on your calendars. Come join us for as little or as much as you want. And with that, I hope to see you here next week and also November 8th. And until then, keep plugging along. All right, bye-bye now.